Tech Sideline is presented by First Bank and Trust Company, a nationally ranked community-focused bank with over 30 locations throughout Virginia, Northeast Tennessee, and North Carolina. Who you choose to bank with can make all the difference. Visit firstbank.com to learn more.
What's up, Hokie Nation, and welcome into episode 420 of the Tech Sideline Podcast. Today, we have a very special guest on set. As one of the more unique athletes in recent Virginia Tech athletics history, Devin Wilson joins us here at Tech Sideline. Devin Wilson coming up on episode 420 of the Tech Sideline Podcast, which starts right now. And we're recording on Tuesday, April 15th, 2025 from our high-tech studio in the Virginia Tech Corporate Research Center. Remember to like, subscribe, and refer the show to a friend. I'm your host, Carter Hill, in the fourth chair today. And similar to Gerard Evans, we got a little bit of a mix-up on set. So in the typical host chair is our honorary guest, Mr. Devin Wilson. In the red shirt chair is our lead analyst and columnist, Chris Coleman. To my left, in his typical chair, we don't have a name for it, is our managing editor, David Cunningham. And behind the scenes is Nick Brown. He is producing as always. Devin, thanks for stopping by. This is going to be a whole lot of fun today, so we appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
I know you are currently involved at Virginia Tech with the Monogram Club, with Virginia Tech Athletics. What are you currently doing over there, and what does your day-to-day kind of entail?
Yeah, so my official title is the Director of Student Athlete Alumni Engagement. Essentially, I run the day-to-day for our Monogram Club, which is our letter winner organization for former student athletes. We handle alumni reunions. We do a bunch of spring game events. For example, we just had our For Those to Come golf tournament. We had a wine tasting, our reunion reception where we bring back a bunch of different alumni from a bunch of different sports. And then we did our spring game tailgate on the day of the actual spring game. Throughout the year, we do letter awards and different things like that. So essentially all encompassing of former student athletes and also current student athletes is kind of where my job entails.
So when people come into town for the spring game, for you, that means a lot more because you've got multiple events. So probably they started on Friday for you?
Yes.
And can you take us through them, like from Friday through your day on Saturday?
Yeah, sure. So we start with the For Those to Come reception, the For Those to Come golf tournament. Essentially what that is our way of providing donations and dollars to the For Those to Come scholarship, which it goes towards providing financial gain for a student athlete, whether softball, baseball, football, basketball, whatever kind of sport we want to choose at the end of the day. That's kind of what the money goes to. So we start out at about 9 a.m. We have the golfing begins. Usually it's just about former student athletes who come back. We try to get some other donors and other people who want to just be involved and be around former student athletes as well. So that goes from about 9 to 3. We'll do our wine tasting. Usually we kind of direct that towards all the people who don't want to golf, because you have those people who don't want to golf, but they want to go enjoy their time and kind of see their former teammates and things like that. So we'll hold the wine tasting from around 1 to 3. And then later on in the day, we go from 5 to 7 with our reunion reception. That's hosted by the Monogram Club and also in conjunction with the Edmonds brothers as well. So all the Edmonds brothers were back this spring game. It was awesome to see them. Their mother Cookie comes back and she cooks up a whole entire platter and meals for everyone. We had wings and mac and cheese and all different types of dips. We even had a waterfall this year. So we definitely upgraded our game this year for our reunion reception. But once again, we get a bunch of the football coaches to come back for that, a bunch of the football alum. It's mainly for them as well. That's why we get the Edmonds kind of more involved. But we get a bunch of different sports that come back, and that's what's great about being able, you see people from the 70s, you see people from Beamer's era, you see people from my era, you see people from Vic's era. It's really cool to kind of bring in all those different alumni into one place and then just kind of tell old stories, have a couple drinks, and then kind of go on about your night and enjoy the spring game.
It's funny you should mention Mrs. Edmonds because so I'm from Danville.
Okay.
And they were barely alive. Actually, I don't even think Tremaine was alive yet. But I remember Farrell put on a camp for my high school football team. And afterwards, he let everybody come to his house for a cookout. And I just remember, like, he was grilling, but his wife did all the other cooking. It was really good.
Yeah. It's excellent. That's the highlight every single year that we hear from people is, like, cooking is the greatest that you can get on a day like that, especially when it's nice and home cooked. Like you miss those kind of meals because more or less when you come back to Blacksburg, you're going to a restaurant or something like that. So when they get to come back, it's that home cooked meal that they're all used to. I think it's pretty cool.
What's it been like for you in this role? And can you kind of talk a little bit about your process getting to this point where you're back at Virginia Tech? And I'm sure you enjoy getting to reach out and connect with old athletes kind of like you.
Yep. I love it so far. I've been in my role now coming up in May for 2 years. Since then, kind of hit the ground running. We've changed up events. We've gotten things like more gear for our club and just trying to do more opportunities for our alumni. So far, I've just had a great time doing it. I've gotten to meet so many different alumni from different sports, and I think that's the coolest part about it, is hearing different stories about their time in the 70s versus their time in the 90s versus my time in like the late 2010s, early 2010s. So especially when you talk to, like, for example, we had a group of women's basketball players who their sport was not a varsity sport yet in the 70s, and they come back all the time every year. They have this scrapbook of all their pictures, and they used to have to wash their own uniforms. They had to drive themselves to games. Like, the amount of stories they had were just crazy, just for them to be able to play basketball. Like, and I think those are the cool stories I've had being able to be involved with alumni so far.
Yeah, it's a lot of things back then that you wouldn't imagine, if you think about it from today's standard. Obviously, we know why you're back at Virginia Tech right now. What got you to Virginia Tech in the first place? Can you go back to your recruitment with James Johnson selling you? What sold you on Blacksburg and Virginia Tech in the program?
Let me scrub my brain a little bit. Go back. That's far back at this point. That's what, 10, 12 years?
Yeah,
right?
it was. Now, for the record, Devin's from McKees Rocks, Pennsylvania, which is very near Pittsburgh. So that sets you up geographically. Yeah. So now you take it.
Yeah. So I'm from McKees Rocks, Pennsylvania. It's about 10, 15 minutes outside of Pittsburgh, blue collar town. My family's huge into sports. I went to a place called Montour High School. It's also a high school that's really intertwined with sports, and we really also academics as well. It's a really good school for both. So essentially my recruitment for here started when I was in high school, and I actually didn't know what sport I wanted to play. So I drowned out my recruiting process for super, super long, actually all the way until probably the district playoffs for basketball. So if you think how long that is. Yeah. And I had offers for both sports, different schools for both sports at different levels. So essentially I just didn't know what sport I wanted to play. Context, my brother played football at North Carolina, so I come from a football family. I come from a house where my dad told us, if you don't play football, well, you can't live here. And kind of that was the kind of like mentality of it. So we loved football in our home. So I was kind of the odd one out, being the one to want to play basketball and kind of go play basketball in the future. I kind of figured it out in the state playoffs. I kind of realized I thought I had more potential in the game of basketball because you can work out yourself, you can go in the gym yourself. I thought I didn't spend as much time throughout the year in basketball as I could have, and to be able to gain that skill. So I thought that would be my best bet. So essentially I ended up taking 3 official visits. I took one to George Mason, I took one to St. Joe's, and I took one to Virginia Tech. I didn't have an offer from Virginia Tech before I came here, so it was actually pretty risky for me to come here. I came here after my visit to George Mason, and that was kind of my favorite at the time, was Mason. I really thought I was going to go there. I liked Paul Hewitt. They had a great assistant coach that I had a really good, close relationship with as well, and they had a great law school to go after graduation. That was something I was always wanting to do at that time. So that was kind of the way it kind of broke down. And then when I came here right after George Mason, I just fell in love with the campus. I just saw the campus, saw the university, I saw the people. I even saw someone I knew from back home in Pittsburgh all my visits. So it was just like a really home feeling when I got here. And as soon as I left, my dad even called my mom and was like, yeah, he's going to commit. And I ended up committing, I think, about a week or two later. And it was like 3 days before signing day. So like my whole process was really, really interesting just for me to get here in the first place.
You ever think about what it would have been like if you potentially gone to play football somewhere, like that been your focus?
I do. I don't know where I would have went. I think my highest offer coming out of school was NC State, and they were like also one of my first offers. I don't know if I'd have went down that far. I think maybe I'd have went more mid-major, and I think that'd have been kind of where I would have stuck at. Because there was also some schools who wanted me to play both at some of those mid-majors, and I thought about doing that as well. So I think about it sometimes, but then when you look back at me being able to play football here for a year, I think that kind of took that regret away a little bit.
Good decision. Like, football players, when they reach a certain age, they're a little more sore than basketball players later
Trust
in
me,
life.
I know.
Yeah.
I see my brother walk around, and I'm like, yeah, I think I picked the right.
Yeah.
I think I picked the right sport.
Your freshman year, I mean, you started all 31 games. What was that like, just playing for Coach James Johnson, and that experience as a freshman where you're kind of thrown to the fire a little bit?
Yeah, it was unexpected, honestly, because when I came in, we had Marquise Rankin was here. He just was backing up Eric for those years. So I thought he was going to be able to come in. We had another freshman in my class named Malik Mueller, who was a highly touted freshman coming in out of Germany, a big body, great shooter. So I wasn't really thinking that I was going to play especially the amount of minutes I did, and as well as I did. So when Marquise ended up transferring out, and then you had Malik had some issues with the NCAA. They always have some issues when they're transferring in from other countries, especially back then, early days. I kind of had my chance, especially in the scrimmages, and I played well. And I think that's what kind of lifted me into that position and kind of gave me the confidence. And then throughout the year, Coach Johnson just gave me the keys to the ship. Obviously that year was not the greatest, as we can all look back at the record book, but I think there was a lot of highlights from like our young guys. We had like Ben Amelagu, Trevor Thompson, all guys who are playing overseas today, Jarrell Eddy playing overseas. So we had the talent. I just think it was one of those years where we kind of had a mixture of older and younger guys, and we just needed that time to mix around. But I look back at that freshman year, and it's easily one of my favorite years of just playing basketball. I just was having so much fun out there playing free and playing to myself.
You first kind of burst on the scene really in your second game of your career, that West Virginia game, which Carter, I believe you told us was part of the.
Yeah, it was during the day.
Yeah.
Part of like the 24-hour challenge.
Yeah, it was at 12 p.m.
That's insane.
Oh,
And
like
it's
what was
coming
it,
off
like
of
a Tuesday or something like that?
Like a Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yep.
It was coming off of a loss to USC Upstate too.
Yeah.
And then you beat West Virginia. Continue, Chris. I'm sorry.
But then
That's insane.
But you had a really good game. I think it was a 16 point,
points?
5 rebound, 5 assists, something like that. Was that really a point for you where you're like, man, I can really do it at this level?
Yeah, I think even in the scrimmages, I felt like that. It was never a problem of the competition level. I just think I needed to feel comfortable. And I think in that second game I did. I knew a lot of the guys at West Virginia too. And I think that kind of made it a little bit easier for me to go out there and play the way that I did. And then coming from that first game, as most people know, I'm a competitive person. If I have a bad game, I try to fix it the next game. And I think that's just what it was. I thought I came out a little timid in that first game, and I was like, I'm going to make sure my presence is felt in the second game. And I think there were other guys who were really on that same type of time. Like I know Ben Amelagu had like a 20-point game that game. Yeah. He really came out as well. So I think it was just us kind of showing like, hey, we're not going to come out here timid as freshmen. We're going to come out here like we're supposed to be out here and play the game we're supposed to play.
I'm gonna pull a memory from your brain. There was that game at home against Pitt, double overtime. That was second ACC win of the year. Do you remember that and just how big of a moment that was? I know,
Freshman year?
Yeah, it was one of your guys' 2 ACC wins that year, and you beat Pitt in double overtime. I believe Adam Smith had a big shot or two in there.
I'm trying to remember that game. I don't know. I thought that year, so freshman year, I thought we only beat Miami twice. I
know you started off beating Miami.
We beat Miami, and I thought they came home, and we only beat Miami twice there, and that was the only team we beat, which was crazy because they won the conference the year before.
Oh, that's right. They did.
And we were like,
I think it was the next year. That's what I'm talking about.
The next year, I do remember that game. The one year I remember, the freshman year that we played at Pitt. And that was a huge game for me because obviously I'm from there. I had 50 tickets. That was
the double overtime game. That's the one I was talking about.
I remember that one vividly. I actually think I tried to grab Patterson's foot. Allegedly. And got a little technical for it, but that was a crazy game. I wanted to play so bad that game. It was unreal. And I don't think I had like 7 turnovers. I had a couple of big plays, but I just didn't play like smart basketball that game. But it was really, really fun to have like all my family in there. They're dang near courtside, like a lot of my family. So it was really, really fun.
Second year, you transitioned from JJ to Buzz Williams. I'll just leave a very open-ended question. What was it like playing for Buzz Williams?
Yeah, complete 180 from James Johnson, just to be honest. And I think that just comes from him having that established tenure at Marquette, coming in with a lot of confidence, knowing that he was going to come build us up. I think that was kind of his thought process coming in. And I think from my standpoint, I had a lot to prove of. I had a really good freshman year. Did I actually deserve that freshman year coming into my sophomore year? And I think that was something I was trying to prove. And you can see the record books if you know the past. I think I'm the only person who I am the only person who lasted his regime from that year other than David Jackson. And David Jackson is one of my closest mentors and people because of that. We just really bonded during those times. But I take a lot of pride in that. I take a lot of pride that he wasn't able to get me outside of my comfort zone and get me to a place where I thought I had to leave. And I think sometimes he does that to test people to see if you're really an OKG, one of his guys. And I think that's something he kind of is a prerequisite for being able to be a part of his program and being a part of that circle, which is a prestigious circle because of the guys that have come in and the wins that we've had in the years that we had. So playing for him was great. It's hard. It's tough. You know you're going to be challenged every single day. You don't know what you're going to do when you walk into that gym every single day. You're walking in, you're kind of turkey necking into the gym like, well, what's today going to be like? But it's fun because I remember my freshman year, and to be honest with you, I don't have many memories from practice. I don't have many memories from outside the court, but those next 4 years, they rattle off like it's nothing. So I think that just goes to show he came in with a culture and he was able to implement it. And if you're willing to put 2 feet in, you'll pay off from it.
You're right. It's hard to get in his little circle, but once you get in there, you're in it for life, basically.
Yep. And it's you have to prove that. Yeah. It really is. If you come in and you think it's going to be rainbows and unicorns, it's not. It's going to be hard work. It's going to be blood. It's going to be early mornings. It's going to be late nights. It's going to be things you don't expect. And I think he does all that because he's like, who's willing to be in the foxhole with me? And it's a good strategy. I like it.
Kind of keep you on your toes
Yeah.
all day, every day.
Every single day.
What was that? Chris kind of asked you about it, but just going from being a freshman where you're kind of just trying to prove yourself, now it's like you're kind of like reproving yourself and you're being tested every day. Just what was that like mentally for you, sophomore year, and once you kind of build up that trust, obviously?
Yeah, it was hard too. I'm sure I have an article out there somewhere where I mentioned like we didn't get along at all at first. Like we butted heads as soon as he walked in the door because there was a sense of pride on my end that I felt like I built something in my freshman year, like, and I'm not going to let you take it away. And he was coming in with, this needs to be broken down and built back up. So I think we were clashing heads because we wanted the same things. We wanted to be successful. We wanted to win, and we wanted to do it at Virginia Tech. But I think he maybe sometimes saw it a certain way and I saw it a certain way, right? And I think that's the glorious part of it, because as we worked throughout the year, we slowly got closer and closer. The more we started talking, the more we started being able to understand each other. And now if you ask him today, and we both say the same thing, like I respect him more than most people in my life because he was able to keep playing that game of tug of war with me. And I think he'll say the same thing about me. Like he'll say how much he respects me because of the things that I did in those 4 years after that, because no quitting, no complaining, things like that. So I thought that was all good.
I've always heard his boot camps were absolutely brutal. Will Johnston told me they would start 1 minute earlier each day, like 5:18 a.m. one day, 5:17 a.m. the next day, et cetera, et cetera. What do you remember about those boot camps?
Everything. You don't forget boot camps.
Yeah.
That's where you become a team. It's where you become a man, in my opinion. It shows who's gonna jump in that foxhole with you, like I mentioned earlier, who's not gonna jump in, who needs a little bit more pushing, who's gonna carry the water. It really does bring out who you are as a person and as a basketball player, just in those short few hours in that morning, which could turn into other hours on another day. Right. We'll leave it at that, right? Like, so I think that's the coolest part about the boot camps is he makes you earn who you are. Like after the boot camp, you know exactly who this person is and who that person is, what they're going to bring to the table and what they're going to bring to the table. And I think that sets in roles. And I think when you watch his teams play, you notice that people don't have egos. You notice that there aren't locker room issues or anything like that because people know their roles on the team because it's proven. It's not something that's given to you. And I think that's what's beautiful about boot camp.
They take, I'm sure it probably takes a little bit of adjusting too. I mean, just like preseason, you go from doing one thing maybe as a freshman to like the boot camps. I'm sure that's probably intimidating a little bit at first.
Oh, it was completely different. Like it was to the point where we were actually typing out like the rules and like strategy to get through boot camp. Like that's how hard it was for us because you just went from one thing to the next, and like he does it on purpose. Like it's gonna make it real hard that first year, so he knows like this is what boot camp's gonna be like. But it's crazy because you get to the junior year, you get to my senior year, and you get to my fifth year senior year, and by the time you're fifth year senior, you're like boot camp, like yeah. Okay, like let's go, let's hurry up and get this week over with so we can get to training camp. But it's interesting, those freshmen go through the same thing every single year, and you watch it every single year, and you just teach them like, hey, you're gonna get used to this, you're gonna power through it. And I think, like I said earlier, that's that teaching moment of saying like you can get through things. He's going to push you through moments, and I think that's what's cool about boot camp. It's fun.
How did he respond when you told him you wanted to try football for a year?
So that's actually an interesting story. So they actually asked me to play football.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I didn't actually try out technically for football. They called me. So I'll give you guys the backstory of it. So we were at BYU playing in the NIT. If you guys remember, we were at BYU. Our equipment manager, Bruce Garnes, obviously just left football when Beamer retired, came over to basketball, so he still had close ties with everyone over there at football, right? So he's telling me, we're actually at breakfast, he walks up to me and he's like, hey, like they're gonna ask you to play football. And I was like what? Like why? Like I'm a junior, like what's the point? He's like, I guess they don't have receivers or not enough receivers.
They had no receiving depth. They just had three guys at the top and that's it.
And he was like, so they're thinking about asking you. And I was like, okay, like whatever, Bruce. Like we got a game tomorrow. Like I'm not listening to you right now. You know, if you guys know Bruce, like Bruce, he's Bruce, right? So you just never know. But he is always informed. So that game ends, and probably a day after the game, after we lost, I got a call from Coach Fuente, who was like, hey, we want to ask you if you want to come play football. Yada, yada, yada. We'll do the whole recruiting process essentially again. So literally the next day after that, I walk into Coach Fuente's office and they have my high school highlight film on his TV. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Like I get to relive the glory days, right? So like my high school highlights on there, and we're like going through it. Like he's like kind of giving me like the rundown of recruiting again and like trying to like make it appealing for me to kind of jump from basketball to football. And I'm like, you don't have to sell me. Like, I've always wanted to be a two-sport athlete. I played two sports my entire life. They've always been football and basketball. I love both. If I have the opportunity to do it and you want me to come over there, I'll gladly do it. And that was essentially how that worked. So I left that meeting and I was in full pads in my first practice on Lane Stadium the next day.
Wow.
3 days after we lost to BYU, I was in full pads.
That's crazy.
Catching fade balls in Lane.
Yeah.
Like, and I showed myself. Like, you people will tell you, like, that first practice, they're like, oh, he ain't just a basketball player. Like, he can play football too.
Right.
So, like, it was pretty fun. They had me, we did like a 7-on-7 kind of deal, and we were in full pads. So we had like a play, and I was in the slot, and they told me to crack back on Tremaine.
Oh yeah.
I said, yeah. I was like, for my personal health, I think I'm gonna sit this one out for this one. So I just ran in there and I said, gave him a little, like, just gave him a little shoulder, just let you know I'm here a little bit. But I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna need a couple of weeks before I start crack back.
Right. I haven't hit anybody in a while.
like that. Yeah.
You mentioned how fun that was, though. I mean, you just get off a really fun basketball season.
Yeah.
Where you go to the NIT, and I want you to talk about that in a little bit. But you go to the NIT, you guys have this great year, and then like less than a week later, you're playing football in full pad. I mean, you talked about wanting to be a two-sport athlete. How kind of validating was that?
Super, especially because like I said, the history is the history. Like, from my freshman to sophomore year, lost a couple minutes. Sophomore year to junior year, lose a couple minutes. So going into my junior year, going into senior year, I was super ready to just like, I need to make this senior year like my best possible year. Like, this last year wasn't how I wanted it. We were better as a team, which was exactly what I wanted from as a freshman, but from a personal standpoint, didn't do as well as I wanted to do. So when they asked me to play football, it was kind of confusing. I was like, should I do this because it could hurt my basketball career, especially if I wasn't able to come back for my fifth year, and at that time I didn't know that. I thought I'd just end up playing football for half the year, then coming back half the year, starting in the conference to play basketball. So I was like, that'd just be a cool year. So I didn't know if I wanted to actually do it or not. And that's kind of what made it interesting, was the decision of like, will this actually pay off for me? And that's kind of, I look back and I'm like, I think it paid off. But in the moment, it was kind of scary to kind of choose which one would work.
Yeah.
But you redshirted for basketball instead, so you got that full year in the next season.
Yeah, and so that kind of goes back to your question of how did Buzz react of like, when I said I was going to play football. He's the one who told me to go play football.
Really?
He was like, you go play football, I'll redshirt you in basketball. You come back for your fifth year, we need you anyway because we don't have one senior, which was Bibbs. Right. And Bibbs isn't the most vocal guy, so getting a guy like me back and being in practice, being a veteran, coming back from football, he was like, this would be perfect. So he actually suggested the redshirting. Really? So coming back to what you're saying, like, that's kind of how he reacted. He was like, this would be great for you. Like, going to play football, meeting all the donors over there for your career. You want to be an athletic director. Like, this would be, being able to be a Virginia Tech football player can only help you in your career after. So he's, like I said, that's why I look at him like, he's so much different than people kind of sometimes see him, because he's the one who told me, like, yo, go do that and we'll just bring you back the next year.
You mentioned earlier about your dad, how if you weren't playing football, you weren't allowed to live. When you told him, hey, I'm going to play football at Virginia Tech, what was his reaction?
Oh, he was hyped. He was hyped because you got to remember, my brother played in North Carolina and they went, and we're in Pittsburgh, so that's 8-hour drives. They're there every game. Like, my parents are making the trip. They're driving every single time. So when he told me, when I told him I was playing football, he was like, 5-hour drive and I get to go watch Tech football. He was like, this is going to be awesome. Like, especially when he came up for the spring game, I was doing well in the spring too. I started the spring games. Like, I was playing well. I had chances to play in every game that we had. We just had such a loaded front lineup with Bucky, Cam, and Isaiah that like giving me some plays would be ridiculous. And I already knew that. But he loved it. Like, we played at Pitt, so I got to go home. Family got to see me in a football uniform, which was awesome. Got to play at Notre Dame, won a bowl game. Went to the ACC championship. Like, they had a blast. My parents were just driving around all the country. Like, yeah, this is awesome. Like, and we don't have any stress. Like, you know what I mean? You don't have to worry about your kid being out there getting hurt or like not playing. They were like, we're just coming for the fun. And like, I was having fun as well. So it was a pretty cool moment for my family as well.
Yeah, for sure. Now let's take it back to that basketball season. After 2-16 in the ACC 2 years in a row. Yeah. Nothing to hang your hat on. But then you make that NIT. And you got on that huge run, really, that season. The West Virginia game was rough, and then Buzz kept you in the locker room for 2 hours. And then everything kind of seemed to turn around after that. Was there anything unique about that post game after West Virginia that you can remember?
I don't think so. I think it was a internal decision team-wise that we just were like, we have this amount of games left, we can make this work. I think losing to West Virginia was embarrassing. Also, the way we lost, turning the ball over, especially being a guard-heavy team, like turning the ball over everywhere was just embarrassing for us. And I think that was something he stressed, was like, going out there and embarrassing yourselves when you prepare so much is something that we need to figure out, how do we make a connection to, and how do we kind of not go down that path again. And I think that's kind of what it was. I don't think he gave us any super raw speech or anything like that. I think it was just more of an internalization of the team saying we need to execute better, we need to play better, especially that year because we had a bunch of super talented guys.
Must have been great, like the second half of that year, once things started to come together and you guys started winning and Castle started to fill up. It must have felt really good to, I don't know, maybe feel validated that you would not completed the rebuild of the program, of course, but had gotten things turned back in the right direction.
Yeah, 100%. We kind of, especially for me, because I was there that freshman year and I was the only one there that went 2-16 back to back. So when like Bibbs this year, like they went 2-16, but then you went NIT next year, you don't really feel it as much. So when I went the 2-16 back to back, I used to tell them like, yo, like this is huge. Like the fact that we made an NIT, the fact that we're top 8 in the league is massive compared to where we were 2 years ago that fast. So I would preach that message all the time to my teammates. Like what we're doing is special. We need to understand that. And our coaching staff did that as well because they understood that success is hard, especially in the league that we were in at that point in time. It was the best league in the country. So that was, I think that was really what it was just reiterating everyone like that what we're doing is special, even if it is the NIT, even if we could have made the NCAA but missed it by a couple games or something like that, is that what we did was special, and now it's just about carrying on the momentum, and I thought that's exactly what we did.
What do you remember about that NIT game against Princeton? I mean, just
the bank shot.
I mean, I'm just the atmosphere, and if I remember correctly, Buzz and you guys as a team are like going out and getting students to like come to the game and pitching them, and I mean, just to kind of be able to play in a postseason game at home like that, what was that like?
It was awesome. I think that was the start of like where Virginia Tech basketball was kind of now where we'd like to like always have the baseline at. Like if we're not going to make the NCAA, we're going to make the NIT. That was like the baseline for us that year, right? And I thought that was cool. We were going out and trying to get fans. We were running around on campus. I know after the game, we jumped into the stands with everyone and we were hugging people. And it was just like, I think that was what was necessary and what we learned. Like, this is what it takes to build a program and to build a fan base and for them to come to your games. Because I know firsthand, like when we were 2-16, there were not people in the stands unless you're playing Duke or unless you're playing North Carolina, and they're coming to watch the other team most of the time. So when you have that feeling and you know that's what's happening, then when you get to the NIT and you're like, everyone is here for us. They want to see us win. They want to see us move on. That's a different and special feeling. And I think that's what kind of got us into the stands. Because I remember we were thinking about just going to the locker room because that's kind of how Buzz was like, hey, after the game, get in the locker room, we're going to talk, blah, blah, blah. But this game, he was like, no, go in the stands. Like, everyone go up in the stands, celebrate with the people. Like, they all came out to watch you play. They've been here this whole entire year. They've been here the last 2 years. Like, go celebrate with them as well and share the love in this with them. And I thought that was kind of cool because I don't know if you've seen like Louisville this year. They did that as well with Kelsey went out and getting students to come to games. I think it's just what it takes. Like, people aren't coming for free and they want to see a winning product, and it's you want them to come to your game. So it's what you got to do.
Yeah.
I guess you guys had pretty much everybody coming back after that year. So expectations, I know you went and played football and everything, but expectations when the program had to switch from, okay, we made the NIT, now we got everybody coming back. So NCAA tournament is the expectation here from here on out, right?
I think that was like the thought. I don't think that was the expectation. Right. I think it was the thought, though. I thought people felt as if we were talented enough and we had earned it to make the NCAA tournament. But then it was like very much so we still haven't done it. Because even if you do finish sixth, that doesn't mean you're guaranteed a spot in that NCAA tournament. You got to get those quad one wins, whatever it is, right? So I think it was the thought, and I don't think we got to that expectation probably until like midway through conference when Seth started hitting some game winners, when we took down UVA. I think that's when we was like, oh no, we're making the NCAA tournament now. Like this is what we're supposed to do. And I think that's when it was an expectation. And then I think from there on out, it just kept going on. Right. Because even when I was over at football and I'd come over to the guys in the locker room and things like that, because obviously I didn't have as much time to be in the locker room with the guys as much because I was over at football. So when I would come over, you could feel the switch like kind of halfway through the season when we played Duke at home, won that game, like all those things, it was just kind of one thing after another, and I think that's what built the confidence over.
I don't think anybody besides you has the perspective. Like from the day you walked in campus as a freshman to your last game, no one else understands how much that culture changed in that program within 5 years.
Yeah, Chris, that's a great point. Like, great point, because I got to see so many things change. Like even the university and the campus changed, buildings going up, practice facilities being built, everything was changing. Like floors, locker rooms updated, like from the years I was here, our locker room in the basketball facility that had white walls, there's marks on the walls, and by the time we finished up, we have basketballs hanging from the ceilings with our names on the lockers and pictures and graphics and LEDs. And I'm like, it's what's amazing is all that can happen in 5 years when you win and when you do it the right way. I think that's what was really cool, is seeing us win and do it in the right perspective. I seen coaches come and go. I seen everything. So whenever I look back on my 5 years, I'm like, I really was here during like the greatest time in the switch of like how the university is. And then even after graduating, being able to watch that Sweet 16 team and see it at its full peak was really cool to see.
You said you kind of weren't really sure, how playing football was going to impact your basketball career. What was that like? Because you redshirted, but you're still around the team, and you guys make the NCAA tournament for the first time. And when you did have the opportunity to get back in the gym and work on your basketball craft, just kind of take us through that transition where you're going back from football to basketball.
Yeah. So as you guys know, we played Arkansas in the Belk Bowl, won that game. I was suited up and dressed for the Duke game the next day. That's what I always find like cool about the story is like you finish the NIT and like I'm in full pads the next day. Like everything was so fast. It happened so fast. There was no breaks. So I thought it was like even cooler how quick the switch was. But I was suited up for the Duke game, knew I wasn't going to play. No one knew I was redshirted. So like for the first couple games, everyone was like, is he going to play this year? Is he going to play this year? And then once you kind of get throughout the ACC, you kind of realize I wasn't going to. But that was kind of the thing. I came back over at 206 pounds. You should have seen my neck. It was like a tree trunk, like just from football lifting and eating and having to gain weight. So I got over there. I was super slow. Like all my coaches were laughing at me. They're like, look at you, man. Like you look like a completely different player. But I lost the pounds quickly. And it was really good for us that year too. If you remember, KJ was hurt. I think Pig didn't play that year. Seth Leday didn't play that year. So our scout team was really, really good. So like, imagine, so you had me and then them three, and then we had Matt Galloway, who was a walk-on, who was a really great shooter. So it was perfect for us. So like we had a 5, and we were called the D League. Like that's like what we were, and we played scout team against that team every day. And we thought we were like, I think that's one of the biggest reasons we made that jump. It was like, because we wanted to play as well, you know what I mean? But we couldn't. So like we had to work on our games every day. So it was really like every day was competition between us. Like it was 5-on-5, and it was like, we're trying to get ready for next year, and you guys need to get ready for right now. So like every single practice was like a game for us. And I think that's what kind of took us to that next level. But it was really cool. I came over, like I said, really, really slow, and it just took me slowly to get back to my normal way and getting back to my normal speed, as you guys would know. So it was fun though.
Did playing football help you as a basketball player? Like maybe make you tougher or stronger, or how would you describe it?
I think less physically and more mentally. It helped me out. When I was over at football, everything's a little different. It's a little more secular over there. Everything's like you're with your position group more. Yeah. Defense and offense are even separated. Like more defensive players hang out with defense, offense with offense. It's just naturally how football is, just because there's so many guys, right? So what I learned was how to impact people individually. So that's what I did when I came back at basketball. I thought I was a 10 times better leader when I came back from football. Just being able to talk to guys and figure out how they best work and how I can impact them, how I can help them. Like, for example, Beatty, him coming in as a point guard, and we knew he was going to have to play for us because he was so good defensively. It's like, what do you struggle with? And sometimes he would struggle with understanding all of our offensive concepts, just because when you come in as a freshman, it's hard to learn it. So what I would do, I would sit down with Beatty all the time and draw out plays. Here's this, here's that, here's what you do, here's what he does, blah, 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 blah. So I think what I did, I was able to come back and understand, like, how do I impact this team, even though we're loaded talent-wise? How do I impact them in a different way? And I think mentally was how I came from football, was just learning how to treat people differently.
Right. And you understood your role.
Yep.
Like, you were a defensive specialist. You could guard 3 different positions. And I think that's really valuable. Like, not everybody's always looking for a better role, and they don't necessarily embrace the role that they currently have.
Yeah. I think that's just, I just wanted to win. That's all when I came here, I wanted to win. When we went 2-16, thought was I want to win. We went 2-16, I want to win. Like, as you notice, I never thought about transferring. It was never my thought process, because I was like, I just want to win basketball games. So if that means I need to play in the game 10 less minutes and we win more, that works for me. Like, because I think at the end of the day, you end up learning who you are as a person, who you are as a player, and how you can impact the games. There were games where I had huge impacts at UVA, against Clemson. The last 6 games of the year where I started, our defensive uptick went through the roof. Yeah. And I think that's why we even had a chance to make the NCAA tournament. So everyone's going to have their time for their impact. It's just about waiting for that time and doing the right things on the way there. And I think everything ends up working out for you in the right way when you do things like that.
You guys ended that season in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the game didn't go the Tech's way, but just how cool of a full circle moment was that, getting to play in front of your friends and family?
Yeah, literally full circle. Coming from a freshman and it being a rough year, but playing all the minutes, then to finish in front of my family in Pittsburgh, I thought it was a great ending to my career. Obviously, you want to win, but I thought the game was really, really good. It was we were in the 80s, I think, that game. Like, it was one of those NCAA tournament games where it could go either way if we played 10 times. I thought that was really cool. Having all my family and friends there was great. But like I said, I wish we would have been able to come out with at least one W. That'd have been nice to be able to get that first tournament win. So,
do you remember the charge called on Justin Robinson late in that game? I thought it was a little bit questionable.
Yeah, I agree.
I figured you would.
They had a couple questionable calls that game, but I still haven't watched it.
Have you not?
I can't do it. I'm just I'm just gonna leave it where it's at.
You were at that game, David.
I
weren't you?
was. That was my freshman year.
Okay.
Of school.
Okay.
No, I can't watch the Sweet 16 game.
That's a hard one too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you mentioned the Sweet 16 season before. I mean, how cool, like, that's kind of like the jump, seeing the program jump to the next level. And you got to play with so many of those guys. J-Rob, you mentioned practicing with KJ when he was injured. You see Beatty and Nikhil and all these guys kind of take the next step. What was that like from your perspective next year, seeing them go on this crazy run?
It was great. It was great, especially when they're your young guys. Like, they all called me Pops when I was in school, like, for Grandpa. Like, that's what BU would always call me. So, like, it was cool to see them get to where they got. Like, me and J-Rob are super close. He's one of my best friends. Like, so seeing him break the record and doing what he did that year was awesome. Seeing Med have the year he had after having a shaky year the year before. Watching Nikhil kind of come out of his cocoon of, like, here, I'm a top 20 draft pick, like, and I'm going to show you. I thought that was great. So just being able to see everyone grow up was great. And then, like, when you think about their run, I thought was also really, really good. Like, that game just hurts. I know it hurts for a lot of them, but being able to see, like, them to get to that point, I think was really the ultimate, like, yeah, we made it this far and we earned getting it to this far.
I think they should have gone for the 3 with Outlaw instead of the
50-50 chance that year.
Right, exactly. See, my whole thing was Blackshear had fouled out.
Yep.
So if you go to double overtime, you're unlikely to win without Blackshear. So you better go for the win right now. I think that's what they should have done.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll take a 50-50 chance with him every day.
No doubt. He is the all-time leading three-point shooter in Virginia Tech history.
Yeah.
Percentage-wise?
Yes. Yeah, and to qualify, you have to average 2 makes per game. And, like, in his last game, he jumped over the 2 makes per game threshold. So he is the all-time leading three-point shooter.
That's
from
crazy.
a percentage standpoint.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So when you see Nikhil on TV now and you see him break that crazy record that he did a few weeks ago, you're sitting there thinking, man, I guarded that guy every day in practice, right?
Mm-hmm. Me and him used to go at it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was like, especially when I was coming over from football, like, I was like, oh, like, and it wasn't like a jealous thing. It was more like, I'm going to let him know, like, here's how we get down here. Like, and so we used to go at it in the summertime to the point where I used to have to tell him, like, you need to quit, like, deferring to others. Like, you came in here as a 5-star. You need to act like you're a 5-star. Like, quit deferring to me. Like, when I'm getting up in you and all these things, like, don't defer. And he's like, all right. Changed it that quickly. Like, that's when I knew. I was like, yeah, he's a pro. Then you see him here at 6 a.m. every morning. Like, I was like, yeah, that's the difference between being a second rounder, maybe trickling into the league, and being a first round draft pick. Is he just someone who took care of his business? He listened to other people. He listened to people who were older than him, took advice, and just implemented it out on the court. And it was great.
You mentioned that at the beginning that you and Buzz butted heads early. I'm sure at the end of your career you said you still keep in touch with him, but at the end of your career when it was finally over, I'm sure that relationship was super, super tight. Can you just describe, the transformation in your guys' relationship and how it came to be and how much he meant to you then and still does now?
Yeah. I think even just through the years, I think it transformed also when I was playing for him. It went from button heads and to, like, kind of being getting closer as, like, just point guard coach kind of a relationship. And then I think when I did the football thing, he kind of started seeing me more as, like, a grown man. Like, I respect you as a man now because for the last 3 years, you took care of your business. We don't have to worry about you academically. We don't have to worry about you off the court. People are asking you to come play sports for them. Like, you're clearly doing the right thing. So I think it transitioned each one of those years. So to see it come back from post kind of career has been cool. Like, we have a much more, like, less coach-player relationship and more, like, just personal relationship. I think we speak to each other more as people and less as he's talking to me and trying to give me advice. Like, you know what I mean? He's just like, hey, how's it going? Or, like, anything from that realm. And I think that's what's kind of been interesting to see the dynamic change as he sees me more as, like, a person and more of, like, a man than he does as a player-coach kind of role. And I like that.
Do you have a specific game or a specific moment during your 5 years as a player at Virginia Tech that really stands out to you more than anything else?
Specific game or moment? Ooh. I was gonna say that I do think that Princeton game was a huge moment for us. That was the first time I think I ever seen that many people in Castle, where you have like the corners filled. But I think if I had to point to one game that like I'll always remember is the Duke game my senior year. On senior night, taking down the top 5 team at the buzzer. Literally corners were packed. Like you couldn't even see in the corners. It was that dark in there.
Chris
like,
Clark tipping.
Was that the quit cussing game?
Ooh,
Was that the
what
quick
was that the
cussing
year
game?
before? I don't remember.
Was
Yeah,
it?
that was,
Yeah, I think that was
even
a quick
better.
cussing.
You
Even
guys,
better.
quit
Yeah.
cussing.
Even
Quit
better.
cussing.
But that game
Please.
was crazy. I started, got my last start in Castle. Was cool. Like I said, seeing Castle like fully packed is like special, especially when you're on that court. Like looking around and being like, man, like I remember like there was no one in here. Like I vividly remember it. Like I remember being able to see my parents like right there. Like that's how many people weren't in the stands. And like seeing it now, like we're playing Duke on senior night, and it's like this place is rocking. Like you couldn't even hear. And I'm like, yeah, that's like what we were saying, like validation. It's like, yeah, we did what we were supposed to do while we were here, and I think that was really cool.
I don't think enough people appreciate around the country how intimidating Castle is when you play there when it's filled up. I remember in 2007 there was a blizzard, like a huge like 15 inches. Nobody from out of town could get to the game, so they just said anybody can go to the game for free. So it was 10,000 students. It was insane, and they beat, and that was they played Maryland that night, so it was it was a big game. Like it was Maryland. Grievous Vasquez, I believe, was on
So
that
that was
team.
what, like Delaney's years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or no, that was it was Jamon Gordon.
Jamon Gordon.
His
Xavier
senior year,
Donnell.
a year they made the NCAA tournament.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be cool right there.
What do you remember about beating Virginia in Charlottesville?
Big Monday. Everything. That's another one I would put at. If I was thinking of home games, but when you think of just games in general, that UVA was one. They should have been number 1. They skipped out on that because they were able to stay at number 2 when we beat them. But whatever.
That's right.
We'll take that away. But I was actually doing an interview with one of our graduate assistants the day before, and he was talking about like, he's like, have you ever won here before? And I was like, no. Like every time we come here, it's a 20 ball, like just like when we go to Cameron Indoor, like it's usually a 20 ball. And I was like, but I always wanted to win here, just to rub it in, right? And like we went out into that game, and like throughout that whole entire game, like you could just feel it. Like you're like, we got them. Like we were in a groove. Like we had a great game plan. We were really just like, if it's under 10 seconds, we're just going to go 1-4 flat, and we're going to live with the shot that we get. And J-Raw was cooking that entire game, especially with KJ coming up and setting those screens. So that whole game, I just felt like we were in a groove. And then on the other end, on the defensive end, I thought we had their number. I thought having Bibbs and I being able to tail Guy and Jerome was beyond what we needed to be able to kind of take away their main options. I thought I played a really, really good game coming off huge minutes in that. And I think that was also when I just first started to get back in the starting rotation as well. So I thought I played a huge role. Nakia with the big, huge shot from the 3-ball late in the second half, or that might even have been in overtime. But just like the whole entire game was like, you could feel like we were in a groove, and then we get into the locker room and we're losing it. Like we all try to keep it inside, but like we were like, yeah, this one felt a little bit different. So that was a great game.
That one kind of came out of nowhere, I think, for most fans, because UVA had won by a lot in Castle.
Yes.
That
It was bad,
It was
too.
bad.
Yeah, it was
I
like
remember.
30.
You remember like how much Justin Bibbs smiled. The dude always had a smile on his face. After that game was the only time that he never smiled after a game. I swear. And then to come back and to win that game, I don't think anybody saw that coming except for you guys, probably.
Yeah, I thought, like I said, I thought we played a really, really good game. And then going into that overtime period, I thought we had more belief than anything. I think we had a saying that game where we were like saying like stay cold. Like it was like Buzz, as you guys know, he loves his stories and loves telling us his stories before games. We had a story that week where it was like about a sniper rifle person in the military who was talking about like when you're in those kind of situations, you got to stay cold. Like you got to, as you get what I'm saying, you got to stay cold. And that's kind of what our whole thought process was like, don't get too high, don't get too low. Stay right in that middle area. Whenever that crowd's losing it, like we're going to be right here. Whenever we're going, we're going to stay right here. It's fine. So we were just trying to stay cold that whole game. And I thought that was a good way to end it.
Yeah.
Just so, go ahead, David.
Well, I
I'm
was gonna
sorry.
say, it's great. So Tech men's basketball just won a JPJ this January for the first time since you guys did it. I mean, it's just so hard to win there. And the women won there too. And it was the first time in the same season the men and women both won in JPJ. It's just a tough place to play.
It's weird that it's a tough place to play because it's not like it's super, super loud. and it's a really nice gym to play in. Like shooting in there is really nice. Like it's really well lit. Like it's not like it has like the showcase lighting or anything like that, or stage lighting. So like it's really easy to play in there. But for some reason, I don't know, I think it's like UVA or something. Like they play so much better at home than they do anywhere else. Like, and it's very obvious when you look at their records, like home versus away, their records. And so it's like, I don't know what makes it so hard. Like, cause like when you think about Castle coming here to play, it's super, super loud and it's the walls and the volume, but like, it's really, really easy to shoot here. And everybody who ever comes to play here from an away team says like, we love shooting at Castle. Don't know why, they just love to shoot.
Interesting.
Here. Soft rims, and I guess like how far the crowd is away, it doesn't really affect your shooting. And so I was like, oh, okay, like, but we're super loud. So that's kind of why I was always wondering, like, why is it hard to play at UVA? Like, why do we always lose by so many points? Like, everyone does too. It's not like
It's not just you.
So I always wondered, but yeah, that last one was great to get, especially in my senior year.
Just so everybody fully appreciates the 17-18 season, me and Nick were talking about this beforehand. You guys started out the season, you beat Detroit Mercy 111-79. You turn around and beat the Citadel 132-93.
Chris Clark,
and I bet Buzz
triple-double.
was like, man, you guys couldn't defend today. But 132 points. And then Chris Clark triple-double. Yeah, that's insane. Then you guys go to the Garden, you squash Washington, you put up 103 points. You beat Iowa like a drum in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. You go to Oxford, beat Ole Miss. You played at Kentucky that year at Rupp Arena. They were number 8 in the country. UVA wins by 26 in Blacksburg. You then go to Charlottesville, beat them in overtime. You beat 10th ranked North Carolina at home. You go to Cameron Indoor and get beat, but you turn around and beat them essentially the buzzer here in Blacksburg. Number 5 Duke on that Monday night. And then you also beat number 15 Clemson at home. Like, that season was insane. When you look at the resume from top to bottom, like, you have to sit here nowadays and say, man, what an awesome final year here at Virginia Tech.
Great year, especially coming off that football year and not knowing what my senior year would kind of entail. I didn't know what was going to happen. Like, just, was I going to play a lot? How am I going to get back in shape? Like, and that team was loaded. Like, we were 8-9 deep easily that year. And we could have went 10 if we had some guys who were just able to kind of understand the system a little bit better. But we were rocking that year. Like, you name all those ranked teams that we beat, like, and every single one of them, there was none of them we were like, oh, we might have trouble with them. It was like, nah, like, let them come in here. Like, we're ready. Like, we want to play them. Oh, they're ranked? Perfect. Like, and we knew it too. Like, I think we were on Big Monday like 4 or 5 times that year. It was insane. Like, every Monday we were playing. That's like, and back then Big Monday was huge for us because that means you're the biggest game on TV that week, right? Like, so that was really, really cool for us. But that whole entire year was awesome. We were so good that year. I remember when we were playing just in the scrimmages, we could feel it. We were like, yeah, we're gonna be good this year, because you had essentially me playing at the 4. So like, it was almost extremely hard to guard us. Like, we were super small ball. When you're playing someone who's 6'4" at the 4 and can also guard your 4-man on the other side of the floor. Like, it's not like we were just giving up length or any size or defensively. Like, I can also guard your 6'8" to through 6'11" 4-man as well.
Yeah.
So we were super good, and we knew we were good defensively. We had great leadership that year. We had great young guys. J-Rob had a great year. So like, it was just one of those years where it was like everything was clicking, and then we had just a good gel group of guys. And so when you look at that, it just means for a terrible ACC coming to play us.
Yeah. Taking it to a slightly different topic here, but you were a double major in poli-sci and English at Virginia Tech, right? Mm-hmm. Then you got your master's in sports leadership from VCU and a sports MBA from San Diego State when you spent some time on the West Coast. When did you realize that you wanted to stay in sports after your career was over? Was that something like before you got to college that you thought you might want to do, or something that kind of gradually came to you later?
Yeah. So I always wanted to be a lawyer. Growing up, my dad's a state trooper, so I just kind of was always in that world of like kind of law and order, things of that nature. So coming into school, I wanted to be a lawyer. That's why I did the poli-sci and English route. Those are 2 great majors to kind of set yourself up for the LSAT and get into law school. And probably my senior year was when I realized I no longer kind of wanted to go the law route, and I wanted to kind of be an athletic director. And it was when kind of those 4 years happened with Witt. I saw it all happen, right? I saw us go from 2-16 under a regime, and then he came in and we went to a Sweet 16 eventually, right? Got to the NCAA tournament twice, at least in my tenure. So I think what I learned from him was like, I liked what he did, I enjoyed it, and I thought of him as like just someone who I looked up to from a career standpoint. And so what I did was I wrote him that year actually, and just kind of said thank you. Like, I appreciate what you did for the Virginia Tech University. Like, I'm a Hokie. I said Virginia Tech University. Let me take that back. For Virginia Tech, for Virginia Tech, just appreciating what you did for the university. And And so I wrote him, and he ended up letting me know, like, you're the first student athlete who's ever wrote me before. Like, and just in general, whoever wrote me a handwritten letter, and as you guys know, Buzz love those handwritten letters. So that kind of created our relationship, but that's kind of what got me back wanting to be an athletic director, working in sports. I've always loved sports. I've always wanted to be around it. Even when I wanted to go into law, I wanted to do sport law. But meeting him and seeing kind of his career and his profession, that's what kind of got me into like, oh, I could actually work in college athletics and maybe be an athletic director, see what that entails. So that was pretty much how that worked.
When your current position opened, I mean, how excited were you to maybe have the opportunity to come back to Blacksburg?
I was ecstatic. It was actually funny. I was actually getting ready to email Whit to see if there was any openings just at Virginia Tech in general. And the next day, the position that I have now came onto the site. And I was like, he knows. Like, we were up here with it. But it was complete coincidence. I was like, this is perfect. And I read the description. I was like, this is literally me. Like, someone who can engage with the student athletes currently, and also someone who can engage with the former alumni as well. So I loved seeing the position, knowing I'd get a chance to come back to Blacksburg, especially being out in San Diego, be able to come back a little bit closer to home, being back where I was, seeing old fans, seeing old owners, seeing old friends, teammates, coaches. It's been great for the last 2 years. So I loved it.
What's your relationship like with Mike Young?
Great, actually. Yeah, I'm over there all the time.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, they gave me a locker over there in the coach's locker room, so I got a locker over there for all my stuff. I go over there and work out. David Jackson, I see him almost every morning, and we always hang out. Like I said, we're still really close. Webby, obviously, when he was still here, he was my coach, so I knew Webby really well. I was actually a graduate assistant for JD Byers at VCU.
That's right.
So I have a good relationship with JD as well. Me and him are really close. So and then Ace, obviously, me and him just from being alumni are really cool too. So being able to be over there and getting to know all them has helped my relationship just be over there. So they don't mind when I come to practice. Coach Young always makes sure he says what's up to me and says hi. But yeah, I love Coach Young. He's a good dude.
Does he ever need an extra practice body?
I've been trying, but I think sometimes with the ever changing landscape of everything, it's like we need to get every guy every minute we can on these floors because we just don't know what's going to happen. So I've definitely tried a couple times. Like, hey, if you guys need a scout team guy, I'm over here. I stay in shape.
What's it like? You kind of mentioned a little bit. What's it like reaching out to former men's basketball alumni and connecting with them and bringing them back, and especially some guys who maybe were your teammates?
Yeah, I'll say this, because you guys said I can say this in the camera earlier. We need to do a better job, men's basketball, of coming back to Blacksburg. You guys hear me? So I will formally say that I think sometimes basketball players have a tendency to have relationships more with their coaches and things like that. I think it's just natural from a basketball. It's just such a small team. It's a different culture that you normally follow them. And so when I talk to former basketball players, it's like I'll see them going to Texas A&M, or I'll see them going where Buzz is, or I even see you don't see as many Greenberg guys because he doesn't coach anywhere anymore, but like they still have that tie to Greenberg essentially, right? So what I'm trying to figure out is how do we get that tie to be towards Virginia Tech? It doesn't matter who the coach is. Like, we're all playing for this university. We all played here. We all loved it here while we played here. How do we get people to come back? And I think it's hard because a lot of our players go to play overseas as well. So they can't come back all the time except for like a month. And when they're here for the month, coming to Blacksburg isn't always the priority. It's going to see family, going to see friends. So I think what we're trying to figure out is what's the best time. Can we formulate events? Like, for example, this year we tried to do the TBT. If you guys followed me at all.
I did. Yeah, absolutely.
So we tried to do the TBT this year to try to get some more people out, but we found out a lot of people couldn't make it and couldn't come back. So we were like, all right, well, let's plan now for next year's TBT. Right. And I think maybe that's a way to get more alumni to come back, is like having a huge event like that where it's like, okay, now we're all going to come back and it's everyone meeting at the same time. It's not certain groups coming at certain times. So I think that could be a good way to get men's basketball to come back here a little bit more. But it has been tough just because a lot of the guys are still playing, especially if you go back to like Malcolm's years, a lot of those guys are even still playing. So it's hard to just get them back, but we're definitely trying.
I think that would be awesome to watch some games with guys from different eras playing together. I mean, Jamon Gordon, Malcolm Delaney, Zapian Dowdell, all these guys on the court together, and I think the fan base would really love that too.
I do too. I think so. I think being able to see those guys and know those names, and a lot of them can still play. It wouldn't be bad basketball.
Exactly. It would not be bad basketball at all.
We thought about trying to do an alumni game. J-Rob has been trying to get an alumni game started for a while now.
That would be fantastic.
So, yeah. We've been trying to do something
You
like
could play that in Castle, charge admittance, donate it to NIL, things like that. I mean, I think that's a great idea.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Great idea.
I mean, I would definitely pay to watch an alumni game like that.
Especially guys like you got Hunter still, like even guys from Coach Young's there, like Hunter, you got Mutz, you got Keve, like those are players, like, and they're still at the height of their careers.
And
right
they're still playing overseas, so technically they're off seasons at the same time, so it should be able to happen.
Yeah, we're working on it. We're trying to figure out something that we can do in the summertime because that's when they mostly can get back here. So that's really what our focus is to try to do something in the summertime. So we're working on it. We're trying to figure something out.
You mentioned other sports alumni. You mentioned the women's basketball, the alums who were here in the 70s who had to like wash their own uniforms and stuff. Have there been any other kind of like eye-opening experiences for you interacting with other alumni from other sports that have kind of, given you new perspective, I guess, on what you do now?
Yeah. You got football players. I love meeting the old football players. They're the best. Because the thing about football players is their era is always the best. It's the greatest. Like it's always the best.
No doubt.
But like, for example, I've met a couple different ones and they brought like their helmets in, and that's something interesting. You look at their helmets and like there's like no padding in it. And these dudes are like 250, 260, like, and there was no safety concerns or procedures back then. Like, and I'm like, you guys used to really run at each other full speed with this little piece of tissue on your head. And I'm like, that's insane. And like, but like they loved it. And they love coming back to Tech, and like they're easily one of our biggest groups. Is like it's like 70s, 60s Claiborne boys, football players, Beamers era are easily our biggest alumni base for the club. But like seeing stories like those, seeing softball, they just hit their 30th anniversary this year, and they're cooking right now as a team. They just had their alumni reunion, which was great. I don't know if you guys saw that on social media, but like they had a
Keely, the underhand first pitch.
They had a boatload of alumni come back, and they had a great time. So I think it's seeing those things. It's seeing when people come back, how much they like, man, I remember when that wasn't like this, or I remember when this was the Bowman room and that's not the SAPC. And they're like, man, they have this now. They're like, but there's never any jealousy or shade. It's always like, this is awesome for them. And I think that's the coolest part. It's like, there's no one who's jealous. It's like, this is cool to see that what we did in our time has grown to become this. And I think that's what's really, really nice about it.
What would be your dream Virginia Tech men's basketball TBT team? Starting five. This is a Nick Brown question, by the way.
Okay.
Just to give him credit behind the scenes. This is a Nick Brown question.
All time, as in, so for example, am I getting Ace in his prime, or am I getting Ace with his knees right now?
I would say those that are currently playing. Is that okay, Nick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like guys,
Nikhil can't play. He's in the NBA.
Well, technically,
You have to go by the rules.
technically, NBA guys I think can play now.
they can.
They can. Yeah.
They changed up the rules a little bit, so we could.
Let's pencil him in. Let's pencil him in.
I'll keep him out though for now. I'll keep him out.
Okay.
Fair enough.
I'll leave myself out too. I'll be the GM.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Okay.
Because I'm obviously constructing the roster right now.
Right.
I'll put obviously J-Rob at my 1. I think I would go Zach Leday at my 4. He just had a 50, 40, 90 year overseas, which is incredible,
ridiculous.
by the way. I'd probably go. I'm gonna give Hunter my 2. He's a sniper. You can't beat it. So I got 1, 2, 4. I think I'm gonna go a little bit of small ball, and I'm gonna take Malcolm at my 3. I want another scorer out there who can do it all, with J-Rob being at that point spot. He's a bigger guard too. Malcolm's a big dude.
Yeah.
And then if I had to go one more small ball, I'm stuck between Keve and KJ. But I think I'm gonna rock with KJ. I'm gonna rock with KJ. Just because he's versatile. He's a huge body, and so is Keve too though. But I think I'd go J-Rob, Hunter, Malcolm, Zach Leday, and KJ.
Okay.
Now I don't know if Malcolm will play in the TBT. So if we had to move him over, I'd probably take Bibbs.
Take Bibbs. Okay.
I like Bibbs.
Med might have some words for you after the two.
Med, don't know. Med's a close second too in there. Med's, if I didn't have Hunter in there, because I like Hunter's game. I just love the way he moves around defensively as well. And also just being super tough, being a super smart basketball player. But if I didn't have Hunter in there, I'd put Med in there.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned Hunter. What was it like seeing Hunter go off in the ACC tournament? The 2022, they beat Carolina, Duke, go on that giant run. I mean, to win an ACC championship, like you think about where the program was when you first got here to an ACC championship. Like, what does that mean for an alum?
Shocking. I was shocked. I was like, man, it's like seeing like each game go by. You're like, man, we're gonna win again. We're gonna win again. And then it got to the point where you're like, we're gonna win. Like I can see it. Like we're on a roll. Like, and when teams catch a roll, especially like ours, like who could shoot it the way we were able to shoot it and play the way we do offensively, which is so hard to guard. I was like, we can win it. So as like it was cool just as being a fan, because at that point I was just a fan. I'm just here to watch because everyone that I knew had left the program essentially. So it was like, all right, now what I'm watching is just fun Virginia Tech basketball. I'm not connected to this as a player or anything, right? So it was really fun to just watch as a fan, being able to see them go from game to game, hitting game-winning shots. Like it was really cool. And then seeing him go off in that championship game was crazy because like I didn't actually know Hunter really all that much, and so to see him go off like that, I was like, oh, he can ball. Like okay. And then I got to meet him the next year, and we got to know each other a little bit more. And Jackson always told us how similar we were, just as people and just as players on the court as well, except for the shooting part, obviously. But being able to see that, it just goes to show like where our program was going from the time Buzz came in until the time we went to the ACC tournament. I think it just was, we had multiple NCAA tournaments in that span of a time after Buzz left too. So I think it was one of those, like this is where it was like kind of the ending, you know what I mean? Of like, okay, this was where it's supposed to be, and now we're back on that up scale of trying to build it up again.
I think making the NCAA tournament a couple times after Buzz left and winning an ACC tournament after Buzz left, I think a lot of people, maybe even a lot of Tech fans, thought, okay, that was the Buzz Williams program. That's what Virginia Tech can do under Buzz Williams. But I think what they've done under Mike Young since then has proved that Virginia Tech can do it, not just Buzz Williams at Virginia Tech.
100%. And I think our fans know that, and I think that's why our fans are hard on us. I think like when we don't have a year like this, you see the attendance that we get. Like I think people are used to us winning, and they know like, hey, we can win and be a top 8 team in this league every year. Now, obviously, I think with all the new rules coming and all the different regulations and procedures happening, I think that changes a lot of people's mindset, and it's like and now how do we compete and how do we get up to that level? Just because a lot of people don't even know about how all this stuff even works half the time. So I think it's about learning what takes us up to that next level. But I'll agree with you. I think that standard was kind of set, and I think our fans are at that point. Even our alumni are there too. It's like, what do we need to do to make us better, and how do we get to that point? So,
Devin, this is awesome. Seriously, like texted Nick during the podcast. It was cool being a fly on the wall, essentially, because this is a really, really good podcast. So really, really appreciate you stopping in. I know they appreciate it, and you're welcome anytime. So thank you very much.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you guys for having me.
Yeah, thanks. It was awesome, man.
Yeah, it was great.
So for Devin Wilson, Chris Coleman, David Cunningham, Nick Brown, I'm Carter Hill. Thanks for tuning in to episode 420 of the Tech Sideline Podcast, and we'll talk to you very soon.